How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the highs and lows for transfers for Game Week 34. We got a couple of interesting ones, some highly owned players getting given the shoe, and some higher owned players getting transferred in even more so than what they already have been, as well as one particular player that was transferred up by a lot last week because we thought he was injured. Then he played a certain final. You might know who that is, but we will get into that shortly. This series is a new series. We've only done one previous episode, so make sure to leave a like on the video because I think it's a great series. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. And drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with all the different FPL news that we post over there. If there's any news of fixtures or anything like that, I will be sure to retweet it as soon as I have it available. As well as give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can join us for our FPL deadline stream. The next one will be tomorrow, 7 p.m. EST for Game Week 34. My schedule's changed, so I have to do the stream the night before now. We're getting slowly back into a more regular schedule, which means I can't do streams during the middle of the week. So unfortunately, it's a little bit worse off, but at the end of the day, we still get to do the streams, which is the most important part. So without further ado, let's see what people are transferring out and into their teams for Game Week 34. Now, the first player we have on our list of two for players that are being transferred in at the top of the charts is VIHEANACHO. 6.2 million as a forward, just a fantastic FPL asset at the moment. Continues to score, coming off a 12-pointer in Game Week 33. He has 156k plus transfers, around 157k if you round up. Transfers in for this week alone, which is insane. His ownership has gone up to almost a quarter of owners for VIHEANACHO across the entire game, and he's now, I think, only like half or 1% or thereabouts around Jamie Vardy's total ownership as well. And I expect his effective ownership to be closer to that 100% mark again coming into this week, as he has a fantastic fixture versus Southampton and potentially could have a double game week in 35 if the 36 fixtures are moved up to the Game Week 35 week, which is something that we have to keep an eye on because that means he will blank after the fact. However, he is cheap. He is a forward, so typically, you have a lot more expense in your midfield, and him being a cheaper forward means you could probably bench him for a week, and it's not too bad. And if you have him and Vardy as a double up, you could bench both of them and still be fine because you probably have the likes of Salah and Son and these sorts of players who will play in 36 and don't have a double that you'll want to keep in your team. If you have a free hit as well, you can also manage it around that. But I think he's so cheap, and I think he's so good at the moment. He's probably my front runner for the captaincy with Kane this week. I think Southampton have probably looked a lot worse defensively than Sheffield United have, which is weird saying that considering Sheffield United are 20th. And VIHEANACHO has been so good. When Sheffield United have been giving away chances, they've been not as big of chances as what Southampton have been giving away. When Southampton give away a big chance, it's usually on the break, 1v1 with the goalkeeper, or basically a clear attempt on goal in the box. And if you're going to give this to VIHEANACHO, he's probably going to put them away. So I can understand why managers are bringing him in. He is the man in form. He's basically the forward version of Jesse Lingard at the moment. And I think that you could probably keep him for even the Man United fixture if it's put in the double, because you still have the Newcastle fixture in there. And then I believe he plays Chelsea as well as Spurs on the last game week of the season. So I think he could still score against all of those teams. Leicester have been that good with him in the team. He's been pretty much taking up Vardy's mantle and then some when he has played. So VIHEANACHO, I would say if you don't have him, get him now. He's probably going to go up in price at some point this week as well to 6.3 million. And I think that he's definitely a very good captaincy shout for this game week. And a lot of managers seem to like him. I certainly have him in my team for that reason, and I think he's only going to get even more popular as the weeks go on. Now, the other player that a lot of managers are transferring probably back into their teams is Harry Kane. 116,000 transfers in for managers for Game Week 34. And it's understandable. He has a sea of green pretty much for the next 3 game weeks. Sheffield United at home, Leeds away, Wolves at home. He played in the Carabao Cup final, which we didn't expect him to because he was flagged and was injured, and we didn't know the situation on that. And he is, somebody who as we know, on his day, Harry Kane can go ballistic against anyone, hence why his price tag is so high and continues to soar. And I would expect it to probably be in the 12 million range come next season, maybe even 12.5 million, which would be pretty crazy. He has 218 points overall and 45% ownership, so he's definitely going to be up there for captaincy this week. Sheffield United at home on paper, you know, the best attacking asset potentially in the game besides Bruno Fernandes, even though he's tailed off a bit. I'd say Kane across the whole season has probably been better on average in terms of, you know, getting consistent scores. And then you're up against the 20th place team in the league. Kane looks to be quite the FPL asset for this week for the captaincy. I would expect his ownership to be well over 100%, which means that if you don't captain him and you have him in your team, you're going to get a red arrow. And if you don't have him in your team and he scores points, well, you're definitely going to get a red arrow. But I think I would say have him for the Sheffield United and Leeds game. Those two are kind of the barometer as like where Spurs are, because if they lose one of those games, then maybe they're just like, okay, well, whatever. We're gonna see if we can get Kane some goals for the Golden Boot, but the rest of the team's not gonna try. But even then, you still probably want Harry Kane, because if he's going for the Golden Boot and he knows he's neck and neck with Mo Salah, he's definitely going to try to score more goals than Mohamed Salah every game. So I would expect Kane to do well for the rest of the season, whether they're in a European spot or not. They don't have anything left to play competition-wise apart from the Premier League, so Kane has nothing to lose, really, apart from the Golden Boot, which he'll definitely pride himself on. And maybe he potentially is, you know, kind of showcasing himself a little bit, maybe for a move away from Spurs, as there have been rumors around that. But 160k managers have transferred Kane in. I don't have him. I still have Vardy because I transferred Vardy in last week for Kane, having thought he was injured. Maybe I bring in Kane. Maybe I have IHEANACHO, Vardy, and Kane as a front three, and I get rid of Fernandes and kind of a double transfer to make that happen. But we will see. I think if you have Kane, he's probably the second best or the best for the armband this week. And if you don't have him, probably suggest getting him in because his fixtures look great. And Kane's on form and is probably only the real Spurs player that looked likely to score in the Carabao Cup final. Maybe an extra week under their belt, they'll be a little bit sharper. And against Sheffield United, I expect him to score some points this week. Now, one of my big surprises to see on this list for transfers out is Diogo Jota. 78,000 managers have decided Diogo Jota has got to go, only getting just the 1 point in game week 33, and he's potentially under a rotation risk, whether being subbed off early or potentially not starting at all. He's only 16.9% owned. You would think he'd be a lot higher than that. He does have Man United away this coming week, but he has great fixtures from 35 onwards. I think it's Southampton, West Brom, and a couple other good fixtures. I think Burnley and Crystal Palace to end the season, which could be quite good. Liverpool aren't in any competition, so if he's in form, I think he would be on the team sheet every week. And I think against the weaker opposition, Klopp will go with his prided front four, which is Jota, Salah, Firmino, and Mane. But if Jota's going to be the one getting hooked off, if they're wasting chances, then that's a bit of a risk, because not only is he a risk for the starting lineup, but he's also a risk to get hooked off early for a midfielder to go to a 4-3-3, which isn't ideal. A lot of managers are potentially benching him versus Man United as well, because if it was me and I was Klopp, I wouldn't start Jota. I'd play Firmino, Mane, and Salah as just a standard front three and go with a more functional midfield. Go with your tried and tested in the big games and just try to be a little bit more assured defensively. They did look a little bit weaker defensively as Newcastle grew into the game, and I think that Jota potentially is the fall guy for that because he's kind of the new kid on the block, as it were. If Jota, I knew, was starting every game, then it'd be a different story, but I think a lot of managers are starting to see maybe it's a little bit of pep roulette kind of going on here. Will Jota start? Will he not? Is he going to come off the bench? And even if he is, will he get points? He has shown that he can do that, but will he do that is the question, because Liverpool as a team giving me a bit of mixed emotions here. They look great at moments and just don't put the ball in the net sometimes. And then there's times where they just look like they have no clue what they're doing up front, which is a bit disappointing to see because of how good they were last season, even the season before in FPL and in the Premier League. But Diogo Jota, I can understand why some managers are getting rid of him. I mean, a sideways move at his price currently for Zaha for a potential double up coming up soon could be good. James Maddison could be another one. There are a lot of midfielders in that price bracket that would be just, as good, if not better, and would be more assured of start. So Diogo Jota, definitely on the chopping block for a lot of managers this week. I think he was in the top 5. I want to say he was like 3rd or 4th overall for transfers out. So maybe time to get rid of the Portuguese international as he makes way out of our teams, even though he has good fixtures to end the season. And last but not least is Bruno Fernandes. I was kind of stunned to see him third on the list of transfers out. The only other two that were higher than him was Aaron Cresswell from West Ham, who may be still injured, and John Stones, who's suspended, which makes the most sense. But Bruno Fernandes, 100,000 managers have transferred him out for this game week. Now, his fixtures aren't great for the next three. Liverpool at home. He might have a double with Aston Villa and Leicester bunched into game week 35 and then a blank in 36, but he still only plays two fixtures. And they're not the greatest fixtures overall. You know, Liverpool, Leicester, you probably don't expect him to get much. Maybe something in Aston Villa, but again, he might see, you know, rotation because United may be looking towards the second leg versus Roma come that game week. If United go through, maybe they start resting players in the Premier League once they have top four secure, which I think they only need 3 more points to do. They want to keep second place. I assume Fernandes will play in some games, but maybe they won't. Ollie may say, you know, take it easy a little bit out there. You know, don't lose the game, but try not to go full bore out there, and you'll definitely be coming off at 60 minutes or something to save them for the final, which would be interesting to see. Bruno Fernandes only 3 points higher than the likes of Harry Kane for overall points, with 221, and he's one of the highest owned players in the game at 55.9%, almost 56%. And you would think that's probably closer to around 67.666 recurring, so 2/3 of the game probably own him with the inactive managers and that sort of stuff. And even managers that are inactive probably still had him in their team because of how good he was the previous season. I think Fernandes' form has dipped, and you can also make arguments for the fact that how good Luke Shaw's been, that maybe Fernandes doesn't even win United Player of the Year. So currently he's got the red X on him. A lot of managers are transferring him out. I'm potentially considering getting rid of him and then using those funds to get Kane up front so I can have Kane and Vardy. Yes, Fernandes will have a double, and, you know, that's perfectly fine. But is the double actually going to be that good over the grand scheme of things? He is only technically playing 3 games in a row, but Kane also has very good fixtures too. So if you look at Kane plays Sheffield United, Leeds away, and Wolves. If you say, okay, Kane has 3 single game weeks against those teams, but Fernandes has a double with Aston Villa and Leicester, and then he also has Liverpool this week, is he really going to get much points? Who knows? But on his day, Fernandes is quite good. I understand why a lot of managers are getting rid of him. I'm certainly considering it, and I think you guys should too, personally, because I think his form has dipped, and with Pogba in the team, it seems to take away a little bit for Fernandes as well. So Fernandes is definitely on the chopping block. A lot of managers agree, and I might see him leave my team over the next coming game weeks. And that's going to do it for our Game Week 34 edition of Transfer Highs and Lows. If you are enjoying the series, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already, and hit that notification bell so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. And drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can see my lineup news, FPL news, you know, all that sort of stuff. We will post anything that is of relevance to football or FPL over there, so make sure to check that out. And follow us over on Twitch, where we do our preview and deadline streams, which we will be doing a deadline stream tomorrow, 7 p.m. EST. There'll be a pinned comment down below where you can check that out for more information on that. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.